2018 Fiat 500 Hatchback Review. Pros: smart retro styling, lots of character, bright and cheerful interior, several engine options. Cons: cramped rear seats, small boot, noisy about the motorway, awkward driving position. Fiat has largely built its success about the production of small cars whose appeal is at their character and value. With the Panda and Punto in the portfolio, it's perfectly logical the iconic 500 was revived, enticing customers seeking something fun as an alternative to functional. The Fiat 500 unashamedly draws the emotions, which is a modern interpretation on the classic small Fiat through the past. Introduced in 2008 and substantially re-engineered in 2015, the 500 hatch echoes the design on the rear-engined original. Chief rivals for quirky or premium appeal would be the larger mini hatch, DS3 and Vauxhall Atom. Nevertheless, the 500 even offers stiff competition from everything in the chic Volkswagen Up and Citroën C1, on the Renault Twingo and Smart Fortwo and Forfort Twins. And although it sells on looks alone, there's deeper appeal to your 500 having a quirky interior, efficient engine range and appealingly low running costs. Fiat 500 drips with retro cool. Much from the modern Fiat 500's appeal lies in the retro looks that hark back for the 1950s original. Fiat has carefully updated these looks to offer the essence from the original while making the auto bigger about the inside so it can have a modicum of practicality. Like the Mini that borrows a great deal from its heritage, the Fiat 500 has instant appeal for many people buyers, and they also can develop this using a vast array of options. These include from a pair of alloy wheels to bold stripes for your bodywork, plus a huge number of exterior color options and matching interiors to select it. Excellent city runaround, a bit outpaced elsewhere. The zippy handling and compact size in the Fiat 500 help it become ideal like a city car. And while you'll find 4 seats, the restricted quantity of rear legroom means the trunk ones would be best reserved for kids around the school run. A small boot further underlines the 500 city-dwelling credentials, but a minimum of its possible turn over the seats as a result of free up more room for bulkier items, while useful touches being a button for the dash to lighten the steering for city driving, also to make parking in tricky spots easier, reinforce its urban focus. However, within the motorway, the 500 feels outside of its natural habitat. The dinky engines, selection of 0.9 and 1.2-liter petrols as well as a 1.3-liter diesel, can have trouble with overtaking in steeper inclines, requiring the motive force to change down a gear or two within the motorway. There's several buffeting from trucks and larger cars felt from the compact Fiat. However, your little friend size does increase the risk for 500, a great car for country lanes, where its narrow dimensions allow it to slip through gaps more watchily, while visibility is fantastic. Just a pity it's less engaging when you zip along them. Regular updates keep it for the pace. The Fiat 500 stood a mild update in 2014 with new interior fabric, a whole new digital display behind the steering wheel as well as a more powerful 0.9-liter twin-air petrol engine joining the stove. A more extensive facelift happened in 2015, with tweaked Euro 6 engines, different styling, and also a longer number of customization options. A 3D-effect grille and new LED daytime running lights were added, plus ring-shaped taillights with body-colored centers jazzed up the trunk end. Want more performance? If you're following a proper hot hatch, then you'll need to look at the Abarth version on the Fiat 500. With a souped-up body and turbocharged engines, it's an appropriate little pocket rocket. Watch regarding it here. The verdict: don't believe that just because the essential design dates returning to 2008 that it must be an old and unappealing car. The Fiat 500 still looks fresh, and much more recent updates for the interior mean it keeps track of the competition on the subject of tech. There are great new car deals available, and used examples are abundant. Don't worry a lot about reliability. This blog is proving exceptionally dependable inside the long term. The Twin Air is excellent to drive, but won't deliver anywhere near its promised fuel consumption when you drive it with gusto, but it really's the best with the lot should you regularly venture outside of town also. But for city-dwelling drivers, the 500 is hugely relevant, plus a surprisingly capable 2+2-seater city car seems and feels cheerful to operate a vehicle. Considering its reasonable price as long because you don't compare it together with the mechanically similar Panda sister car, the 500 is usually a bargain. Still want that mini hatch? More watch on for the more detailed search our in-depth Fiat 500 review. 2 petrol engines to decide on from and 1 frugal turbodiesel unit all need spending so much time to make progress. The 500 engine range has varied because it was launched in 2008, with updates made in the process to keep them economical, efficient and up-to-date. Petrol engines: there's a number of 2 here. A 1-hour 2-liter naturally aspirated, which suggests it doesn't utilize turbocharger unit, along with a 0.9-liter dual-cylinder twin air turbo which has a choice of power outputs. The former may be the cheaper option, producing 69 horsepower and 102 Nm of torque, and runs on the 5-speed manual or dual-logic automated manual transmission. It has a leisurely 12.9 seconds to visit from 0-62 miles per hour within forms, and definitely will reach a 99 miles per hour top speed. Not one for boy racers then, however it's perfectly usable out partying. There's also an eco version of the engine with higher fuel economy claims, nevertheless the same performance figures, which you'll watch more about within the running costs section in this review. Providing peppier performance may be the 875cc Twin Air, easily obtainable in 2 power outputs. There's an 85 horsepower version which has a 5-speed manual along with a more powerful 105 horsepower that works on the 6-speed manual gearbox. Both offer 145 Nm of torque. Immediately, it feels and sounds additionally eager to pick up the pace compared to the 1.2, but having a 0-62 miles per hour period of 11 seconds to the 85 horsepower version, it's not actually a whole lot faster. Nonetheless, it will go through to reach 107 miles per hour. The dual-logic transmission is usually available together with the 85 horsepower engine. Go with the 105 horsepower Twin Air along with the 0-62 miles per hour. Time drops to 10.0 seconds flat, and can reach 117 miles per hour when limits allow. The extra noise and vibration on the Twin Air engine combine into a greater feeling of speed. In fact, you do still have to push the button hard to produce progress. Just learn the spot that the rev limiter is, because it's easy to hit in case you're accelerating hard. Sole diesel choice with 95 horsepower, the 1.3-liter Multijet diesel straddles the pit rolls when it comes to power. However, it is 200 Nm of torque means it's got probably the most get-up and go for overtaking. As such, it'll be ideal for those who find themselves away from town for the motorway more frequently. It's also one on the quickest with the lot, using a 10.7-second 0-62 miles per hour, a serious amounts of 112 miles per hour top speed, but progress can easily still feel slightly leisurely, plus diesel clatter penetrates the interior, although much less noticeably as using the Twin Air. Engines not available introduced at launch and sitting on top of the 69 horsepower 1.2 was single 4-liter petrol with 100 horsepower and 132 Nm. It could complete the 0.62 miles per hour sprint in 10.5 seconds, and would reach a premier speed of 113 miles per hour. Nonetheless, it was removed in the lineup since the more efficient Twin Air became available. There would have been a diesel engine offered at launch, too, single 3-liter multijet turbodiesel producing 75 horsepower and 145 Nm. This took a rather more ponderous 12.5 seconds to arrive at 62 miles per hour compared with all the petrols, and would go on reach 103 miles per hour. Abarth models provide more performance. There's no real performance version on the regular 500, but that's dealt with by the Abarth 595, and that is an exciting and enjoyable pocket rocket. See our opinion of it here. Nippy and easy to operate a vehicle around town, nimble on twisty roads, however, not sporty little feel through the controls on the highway. The 500 isn't as pin-sharp drive an automobile as the mini hatch, but it really certainly nimble and agile enough to get hustled out and about. Most models cope well with imperfections inside road, but people that have larger wheels, for example the sportier 500s, may become unsettled over less than smooth surfaces. The car's short wheelbase exacerbates this sometimes, too. In corners the 500 has fine traction and the entire body roll is well contained. Its small size and agile nature help the motive force to feel responsible for all when driving on the twisty road, however the steering lets the inside down somewhat. For starters, the tire itself feels unnecessarily large for this type of small car, and there's hardly any communication coming through it to what's going on the location where the tires meet the trail. There's a button around the dashboard to lighten the steering for maneuvers in the city, rendering it a dawdle to twirl the wheel with just one finger when parking, but this disables itself at higher speeds. On others, there's a sports activity button to sharpen inside the throttle response, which certainly helps on Twin Air models when accelerating, as an example on slip roads into the motorway. It also helps make the steering feel heavier, yet this feels artificial. Quirky dashboard is attractive awkward driving position for most good visibility all around. The appealing look on the 500's exterior extends on the inside, that has a distinctive dashboard, retro touches and a lot of character. Buyers could decide among a variety of trims and fabrics for your interior, using a dashboard panel to complement the exterior color, black or ivory details such as being the climate control and leader, and also a choice of seat options depending about the model you go searching for. A small list of dials sits behind the tire in a neat pod, while higher spec models come that has a digital instrument cluster plus a sunroof to be seen up the width and even more. Some may battle to find a comfortable driving position, though. You sit superb in your vehicle and the seat itself doesn't adjust as much while you might like. The base tilts along, lifting or tilting your thighs as opposed to actually moving your entire body up or down. Couple that which has a steering wheel that only adjusts top to bottom, and some may find it hard to find the perfect driving position. On a brighter note, the gear lever is dashboard mounted, meaning even smaller drivers may find it falls effortlessly to hand, which is wonderful for maneuvers plus frees up some foot room lower down. Visibility can be very good. Proportionally, there's lots of glass, small pillars and flat sides, plus large door mirrors, so it's super easy to see where you're going. Comfortable seats and short journeys. Ride could be fidgety over rough surfaces. Motorway refinement may be better. How comfortable the Fiat 500 is will vary depending for the model you choose to buy, especially what size wheels are fitted. That's because the Auto's short wheelbase could mean it fidgets and feels unsettled when traveling over rougher surfaces and bumps within the road. Nevertheless, it's quite a bit less pronounced on models with smaller wheels in contrast to higher spec cars. It's less than bad though, and it's perfectly fine about. However, a prolonged journey may prove somewhat more tiring, due on the awkward driving position for most and absence of support in side seats for extended stints in the driver's seat. Space-wise, the 500 is adequate for just 2 adults undertaking an extended journey, but anyone in the trunk will have the squeeze for anything more than around-town drives. Plenty of trims to pick from. Avoid Spartan and entry-level pop. Special edition models is usually expensive. The standard Fiat 500 range is not difficult to get your brain around, including things like Pop, Popstar, Lounge and S models, plus an array of special editions. Standard Fiat 500 hatchback equipment. Kicking off the product range is the 500 Pop, but we'd only recommend this model should you desperately require a 500 only for its image, as it's a slam dunk bristling with equipment. It comes with 14-inch steel wheels, electrically adjustable door mirrors, electric windows, radio with USB and aux connections, 7 airbags, LED daytime running lights. The Popstar adds a number of extras: 15-inch alloy wheels, door mirrors in body color with defrosting function, air conditioning, split folding rear seats. The Lounge adds an impression more style and luxury: fixed sunroof, chrome exterior details, leather tire with audio controls, rear parking sensors, height adjustment for that driver's seat, fog lights, cruise control, 5.0-inch touchscreen, infotainment system with Bluetooth and DAB radio. The 500S focuses more over a sporty image and builds on Lounge's kit, with 15-inch graphite alloy wheels, sportier-looking back and front bumpers, side skirts and rear spoiler, graphite door mirror covers, leather sports tire, sports seats, 7.0-inch touchscreen, infotainment system, 7.0-inch TFT instrument cluster, tinted rear windows. Fiat 500 hatchback. Optional extras. There are wide-ranging optional extras available for your 500, with additional available the further you move up the stove, with all the likes of half-leather upholstery, infotainment upgrades to add in Satnav, a Beats stereo upgrade, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and climate control available for your interior. There's to specify outside, though, with assorted decals to put your 500 apart, from bitone paint schemes to Italian flag stripes along the side with the car, also as the usual suite of alloy wheel upgrades and brighter lights. Pixinans in this instance, chrome exterior trim or perhaps a black roof, as an example. 3-star Euro NCAP safety rating. No autonomous emergency braking. All feature 7 airbags as standard. When originally tested a few months after it launched, the 500 scored a 5-star safety rating, albeit within the previous testing scheme by Euro NCAP. Since then, safety standards have improved dramatically, and also the 500 was retested again 2017 in the more stringent regime. As such, it's now been downgraded with a 3-star rating, largely due to your lack of accessibility to autonomous emergency braking, whilst an option. All models consist of 7 airbags as standard: front, side and curtain airbags, including a knee airbag with the driver. All cars have 2 teams of ISOFIX child seat mounting points for the rear bench. Compact dimensions mean cramped rear seats, decent space inside the front. However, you sit high. Boot is small, but well-shaped. The Fiat 500 is obviously no family car, with dinky rear seats plus an equally minute boot. However, 2 adults will fit within the front providing they're less than tall. The high-mounted seats may prove to get an issue for any taller driver and passenger, nevertheless it's for most. The 500's tall body accommodates passengers well. In the rear, children could have no issue in relation to space, however taller passengers may find it hard to stay comfortable on longer journeys. Legroom has limitations, especially if you can find taller front seat occupants, and headroom is limited when you're taller, too. For most though, you won't be buying a 500 due to the space, so it's unlikely to be an excessive amount of a concern for several. The 500 is one with the smallest cars on UK roads, and that means you won't have a problem with its size, even around the smallest roads, whether that's inside a tight city center car park or winding country lane. What helps is great visibility thanks into a large division of glass, likewise as flat sides and small overhangs. You'll don't have any trouble fitting it into any parking space, and it is probably one in the few cars for sale that'll easily fit in the standard-sized UK garage. As you'd expect for this sort of small city car, the 500 has a equally dinky boot. At 185 liters, you'll ought to pack lightly for the weekend away, but access is not difficult thanks to a square tailgate, as well as its square shape means it's simple to load up. It's much shallower at the summit than at the end, though, which means you won't have the ability to pack in different larger items without folding the back seats down. On most in the range, these split 50 hours 50 minutes and fold, but leave a lip since the seat bases don't move. Doing this releases a total of 550 liters of space.